the Holy Spirit obviously knows better than we do. In my estimation, Holy Spirit sees everything, right? And knows a lot better than we do where we're supposed to be, where we're supposed to be going. So I think it's important to sort of consult with God, consult with the Holy Spirit, consult with whoever is I pray to Jesus, I pray to God, I pray to Holy Spirit. Let's have a consultation with them, right? First, to see what we should be actually sort of wishing for.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Sunday Communion Podcast, where we have free flow conversations with friends about their lives, their past, present, and what's in store for our future. We discuss overcoming obstacles, spiritual experiences, next chapters, life's profound moments in a warm communion with a friend. Together, we dive deep into the journey of personal growth and collective healing by healing ourselves and sharing those journeys. I'm your host, Lee Papa. Join us. In this part 2 episode with Jamie Hosmer, Jamie shares his journey with spirituality, manifesting, prayer, and being guided back to the church. Be sure to listen to part 1, where he gives his backstory, his journey with his professional musical career.
And you've had quite a lovely career. Not that it's over. You're still going strong.
Yeah, still doing it, but I'm just, very blessed to be doing what I'm doing.
It seems that, I don't know if you have a guardian angel with you, which I believe we all do, but doors just open for you. You've been, like, when you talk about being blessed, you're a great example of navigating from a place of faith. And I'd like to go into that now
Sure.
and talk about your faith. And when did really spirituality or did it start? Like, walk us through that. Like, how did that journey go? Where you were born and raised in a Catholic family? Did it go into New Age, or what was your journey like?
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. Obviously the Catholic upbringing and all, but then, you leave home, you go on the road, and I remember certain things. I don't remember the exact order, but I remember very clearly going into some old antique store or old bookstore, finding this book, and the book was written by someone kind of Eastern philosophy, right? And I don't quite remember the name of the book, but it discussed sort of this connection between everything, right? Then I remember
Excuse me. When was that? Like, how old were you during that time?
yeah, I would say I was probably in my early 20s,
Okay.
mid 20s maybe.
And
So
did it stir something in you? Like, you saw this book and you were like,
it
oh,
must have, because looking back, I feel like, how did I even see that book? You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like, it was in this weird old sort of almost antique store, and like there's this little book, and somehow I grabbed it and looked at it and bought it, right? Then I remember seeing Deepak Chopra. I think he was on Larry King Live. And I'm starting to listen to this guy, and I'm like, okay, he's kind of making a lot of sense to me for some reason. It's sort of interacted with that book a little bit, like some of the concepts, right? And I remember that had an impact on me. And I remember buying one of his books and reading it. And then there were some other things that happened when we got to Vegas. One of them being a friend of ours that we met that was like, oh, yeah, have you heard of this book? Have you heard of that book? And so I would say my spirituality sort of started to blossom a little bit. And I don't know if we would call it New Age. I don't know if we would call it, I don't really know what to call it, but it definitely was some of the Eastern philosophies, sort of the fact that everything's interconnected.
So kind of exploring consciousness.
Yeah. And then I remember watching the movie The Secret, and I was like, okay, well, that's interesting. And I was always a little bit at odds with how they were talking about things like, we can manifest things, and they'd show somebody manifesting a car and all that. And I was like a little like, all right, that doesn't sound very spiritual to me, but okay, right?
But would
But
you say you're a skeptic?
yeah, I would say I was a little bit of a skeptic. Um, yes, I would say I was a little bit of a skeptic. Um, However, I will say that okay, manifestation is tricky to me. And I say that because I believe we can do it. Okay. I'm a believer. However, it might not always work because it might not always be what we're supposed to have. But I think with our willpower, we kind of can overcome even things we're not supposed to have. Like, yeah, we probably could manifest a car, right? We probably could manifest, but I think I almost feel like the Holy Spirit obviously knows better than we do. In my estimation, Holy Spirit sees everything, right? And knows a lot better than we do where we're supposed to be, where we're supposed to be going. So I think it's important to sort of consult with God, consult with the Holy Spirit, consult with whoever is I pray to Jesus, I pray to God, I pray to Holy Spirit. Let's have a consultation with them, right? First, to see what we should be actually sort of wishing for. You know what I mean?
I totally do. I mean, I have manifested things through sheer will, and pushing to make something happen, and only for it to crumble because it was not the path that was for the highest and best.
I've done some things where I will visualize, for example, let's say I've got an important gig coming up or a project that's very, very important. I will sit in the morning and in the evening, and I will visualize that outcome that I want to see. I'll visualize myself after the gig is over and it's like it went great, right? And everybody's happy, like, yeah, that was a great job, blah, 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 all of that, right? And I will hold that in my head, in my brain, in my thoughts, but I will also prepare myself and do the work that I need to do so that I accomplish and I do the task at
So
hand.
you're capable of doing the job. Now,
Yes,
when you visualize, do you visualize as if you're seeing yourself or that you are in it?
that I'm
So
in it.
it's like
That I'm
you're
in it.
visualizing like you are from your eyes, you're seeing the whole experience, like you're on stage and you can see the audience,
Yeah,
not
but
that you are visualizing yourself on stage.
I'm no, correctly. It's me. It's me, and I'm seeing what I want to see. And I usually visualize it that it's already over. Like that's the way I usually do it. So it's already done. It's finished and it went great,
And how
right?
many times has that worked for you?
It always works.
That's something.
That's the thing. It always works. Now I could certainly say, well, you practiced your butt off. You prepared yourself. Yes, I did. But I did this other step too that I think has an effect. I mean, athletes will do the same thing. They'll go over making that shot 100 times, 1,000 times in their head. They'll visualize, football players will visualize mentally this particular play, right? And it's the same thing, right? So getting back to the whole manifestation thing, yeah, if we visualize the things that we want, or I guess what we think that we want, we still need to back those up with action.
And what about how does prayer come in there when you were talking about the Holy Spirit and do you pray around that saying, if this is meant for me kind of prayer?
Yeah, I feel like prayer is an interesting thing because it can be, prayer can be a lot of times people pray like when they want something, right? Too, you know, you know, um, maybe it's for health or maybe it's
The lottery.
right, the lottery. Right. Um, and I think prayer can be just asking for the guidance. Prayer can be Jesus, put me in the right place that you would have me be today. Yes, thank you for the blessings in my life, right? Gratitude,
Praise and
a-
gratitude.
all of that. But Holy Spirit, Father, put me where you would like me to be. Work through me. So I my thoughts, let them be your thoughts, right? My vision, allow that to be your vision. So, it's really hard to take these bodies and art out of the equation in our own thoughts. But so a lot of times my prayer is like, put me where you want me to be and just allow you to work through me, right? And it's admittedly very difficult. I mean, I go through a day and all of a sudden I'll look back on that day and I'm like, man, could have done a lot better in that one situation, right? That was my thoughts. That wasn't the Holy Spirit's thoughts. I try to set up the situation so that um, you know, I can at least make an attempt for Holy Spirit to come through. And I do it for music too. Come through me, be my voice, be these vocal cords, be my hands on the keyboards and come through so that this music can uplift people, right? Be a light so that everybody can feel that light within themselves that they
I love that. I
yeah,
do that with speaking to get out of the way.
right.
Get out of the way. Creator, whatever name you give, Creator, God, Source, the Divine Universe, Spirit, let me be the vessel for you today so
Yeah,
that it touches people's ears, hearts. Right.
right. And
I
I
love
think
what you
that's
do.
the hardest, well, for me, I'll say me personally, it just seems to be it's difficult. We want to control things. We want to do everything ourselves. We know better. And really, we don't know better, right? God knows a lot better than we do. Um, but yeah, you said it perfectly.
Well,
Get
I
out
think
of
that's the journey, is to get
right.
to the point, and that's why some people, I believe, have it harder than others, is so that we realize that we can't do this without God.
Yeah,
I don't want to do this
right.
without God,
Right.
right?
I'm very thankful that, oh my goodness, I've got Holy Spirit, I've got God, I've got Jesus, I've got, everybody's guiding me and going, okay, right? And we just have to listen. We have to be present and, maybe put these down every couple
Oh, please.
and, uh, and listen. But, so to get back to your original question about the direction. So I would say, in a sense, went away from sort of my Catholic upbringing. And I would say I got very disillusioned by the word church, right? The word church. But, I'm kind of, in a way, going back to starting to kind of study the Bible again. Again, things happen in strange ways. I was invited to go sing at this church in town here during
Christian
COVID.
church.
Christian church called Anthem Community Church. It's a Christian church. And I never thought I would sing in church. To be honest with you, I never thought that would happen. But I got the invite because the church was actually closed during COVID. But they were doing these pre-records of like, Jamie, you want to come in and we're kind of pre-recording things and blah blah blah. And so I started going in, and then the church opened, and I stayed. And I mean, the most amazing thing happened that I felt so inspired and so emotional at times, um, singing there. And I mean, it just didn't, it surprised me probably more than anybody. And, it's 2024. I'm still there. And
Yay.
it's really amazing. And it's gotten me, because, praying to Jesus, loving Jesus, feeling close to Jesus is nothing new. Like I've always had that. I've always had that. But Bible had been kind of something I'd almost kind of dismissed.
Well, as Catholics, we don't really learn to study the Bible. I didn't study the Bible until I was in Missouri for a year.
Interesting.
And,
Interesting.
which was a couple of years ago. But, and so it is a full circle kind of thing. But I want to get back to singing praise music, anthem at the church. And by the way, I believe that you record that so that anyone can
Yeah,
see that.
they're live streamed every Sunday.
And it's beautiful.
Yeah, so
Great pastor.
yeah, pull
It's
up
great service.
pull up a service.
And I've seen you sing at church, and there is something about praise music that I never in a million years thought that I would listen to other than being in church.
Yeah.
But there is something about praise music that is so amazing that it is a liquid prayer. It is so beautiful that you in group get into a vibration of such height,
Yeah.
such connection with Creator. There is nothing like that. And so that emotion that comes from that, I remember my mom always crying in church, and I never got that. Like, why are you crying? And I don't know if she was crying because she was in despair or she was crying because of being in a place that felt very spiritual for her. But there is no Catholic church that has ever touched me the way that a Christian church like Anthem has touched me. And even when I was in Missouri, the praise music there's something extremely special about it.
Yeah, and the Catholic masses are very, very different. And I'm not trying to bash the Catholic
No, not at
mass
all.
at all. I mean,
No.
my mom, God bless my mom, she goes to church every day still. And but it is very different, right? It is very different. So getting to sing these very uplifting worship songs, yeah, it's just a beautiful thing, because it's really it's not about it's really not about us. It's not about the worship team. It's not about the singers. It's about the congregation, right? It's about the whole thing, right? So it's not like we're up there performing. We're all singing together. So that's what it's all about. I think that's why it's just, it really is joyous. It really is a joyous thing. And it's really brought me, like looping back. I'm like, okay, there's something to this Bible here. You know what? Let me check this out, because the one thing the one thing I've always done is I've tried to keep an open mind about everything. I try not to be too rigid. My belief system it changes, it evolves, and I think that's important, to stay a little bit open-minded about things. I always say the more that I think that I know, the more that I realize I don't know anything.
And this is one of the reasons for this podcast, is really to share journeys of evolution, of experiences of how our twists and turns of our life have brought us to a particular place, and to honor all of those.
Yeah.
As part of the journey. Again, I didn't think that I would be studying the Bible when I was studying it. I didn't think that I would be listening to praise music. And I don't bash any of my experiences from birth up, right? All those twists and turns brought me to where I am today, and what I believe today, I hope will change. I
Right.
hope it will evolve.
Right.
Because otherwise we stay in a place of atrophy, of non-growth. And I love I believe it's the course, which I'd like to touch on. I know I'm trying to get a lot out in this period of time that we have together. But actually, I'll let you describe the course and how you came to it.
Yeah, so you're talking about A Course in Miracles is a beautiful text. So A Course in Miracles is a book. It's kind of like a 3 books in 1. It was given to Maria and I, my wife and I, as a wedding present. And it's really interesting how these things happen because we were kind of like, oh, okay, wow, thank you, right? We had no idea what this was. My uncle, so it was given to us by an aunt of mine, and her husband, my uncle Dave, kind of like probably saw our reaction and went to me and said, by the way, just so you know, that's a very special book. She does not give that to just anybody. Like that's something that's a very special gift. I was like, wow, okay, thank you, right? So having said that, we'd look and leaf through it and be like, this seems like some kind of religious thing. I don't know. Sat at her bedside for 7 years. Like 7 years. I mean, occasionally open it. Okay. All right. Right. Until a friend in Vegas was over at the house one day. We were kind of showing him the house. And he's like, hey, A Course in Miracles. He's like, oh, you guys know what that is? We're like, well, I mean, I think so. you know? And he started explaining to us that that is a very important book that teaches. It was actually like a channel teaching that this woman, Helen Schuckman, you can look up the history of A Course in Miracles. I won't bore everybody, but this woman started hearing the voice of Jesus. And so she was very resistant to listening to this voice.
She was Jewish, right?
I think she was Jewish. Yeah, and she started hearing the voice of Jesus, and she started begrudgingly writing this down. And eventually,
And she was also a psychologist or a
yeah,
psychiatrist or
yeah,
something, right?
her
Okay.
and Bill Thetford were psychologists, and they started bickering at one another and like this whole thing. And anyways, that's how A Course in Miracles was born. And really, the focus of A Course in Miracles is on forgiveness. Forgiveness, talks about sort of a different kind of forgiveness than what most of the world thinks of. So it's like forgiveness, not because, some person wronged you and did anything. Forgiveness because really they didn't do anything to you in the first place, right? Because this world is like largely an illusion, right? This whole world is a construct where we wanted to separate ourselves from God and kind of say like, hey, let's go and make this world where we can let's go and make our own little world. We can do this creation thing on our own, right? And that's a whole other topic that we could talk for hours, and we probably should at some point.
Yes.
But essentially, the Course teaches that by forgiveness of every little things in the world, little everyday things. You know what I mean? Like you get cut off in traffic, right? Instead of like swearing at the guy and like realize that, okay, this is not a big deal here, right? This is not a big deal. And realizing that things happen. This is our own consciousness doing this, right? And so we can take a different path. We can listen to the Holy Spirit. We can listen to Jesus. We can listen to God that can see everything, right? Past, present, future. They know everything much better than we see this little sliver of what's just in front of our face. That's all that we can see. So it's like, put the trust in the Holy Spirit, put the trust in God. And so Course in Miracles really changed our lives in a very, very deep way. And this other weird thing happened too, and it was, I want to say these things are all intertwined. The same thing like me suddenly singing in church. Again, one of those things that is not haphazard, right? It's this thing that's supposed to happen. So
you believe that it's all predestined?
Yeah, predestined or based on my choices, my previous choices. Okay, this is what you should do right now. I'm going to give you this opportunity to go sing in church. right? I don't
And you
know.
still have free will to say yes or no.
I still have free will to say yes or no. And maybe I've been given thousands of opportunities over the years that I was maybe supposed to say yes to and I didn't, right? I mean, who knows how often Holy Spirit talks to us and we don't hear it? You know,
Do
God's
you
always,
hear more clearly now?
well, when I'm conscious enough to sit quietly and make a conscious effort to listen, you know, that's the thing. That's the problem that I find in this day and age. We're so distracted. It's so easy to be distracted. So I've got to find those moments to just like shut it down, be quiet, turn it. If I'm in the car, turn the radio off. Just drive. You know
Mhm.
what I mean?
Yes, I do.
And it's I would say it's more challenging for me in this day and age to just be quiet. Like, I mean, there was a period in my life where I could do it. I could just, I'm going to go sit quietly. I'm going to meditate for 20 minutes. Easy, easy. It's harder now. Like, it's harder now for some reason, which, and it's just because I need to make the time to do it. Right. Um,
Yeah, and I think that things are moving very, very quickly. I mean, you look at our attention span as a species, and I notice this more when I go back to look at an old sitcom or something that I used to find funny or a television show that I used to like. And I don't watch a lot of television, but
yeah.
when I would, and then, oh, it's not holding any longer, it's
Yeah.
too slow. It
Right.
doesn't move fast enough. Or even with social media, we used to watch long videos on YouTube where now if it's not a 30-second spot on TikTok, you're scrolling.
Yeah.
It has to be faster, 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 faster.
I know. I know
And
there's an attention span thing, right?
oh, we have no attention span.
Right.
And people now, I mean, how many people say, "Oh, I have ADHD?" Because
Yeah.
I think it's an evolutionary thing. We're constantly in a process of evolution.
But I really feel like God's speaking to us all the time. All the time. We just have to stop and take a minute and listen. And like you said, the perfect get out of our own way and allow that to come through, um, and hear the communication, right? So, and the thing about, I'm feeling and I'm trying to figure out this Christian church that I go to, that I love, that I sing at. There's just beautiful people there. And then there's sort of the A Course in Miracles background, and there's sort of the woo-woo world, right? And there's sort of an integration of the two that's kind of happening that I'm still trying to navigate. You know what I mean? Because I think it's all valid. It's like it's all valid,
I agree.
you know?
If we think about the world and this existence being a duality experience, and you can look at any aspect of our lives and our world and see all the separateness being stirred up
Hmm.
and, poking the bear
Yeah.
of this is separate, this is separate, this is separate. These are different sides of
Yeah.
everything. And we won't truly get to our expansion, um, whether people call it enlightenment or, next dimension or whatever,
Yeah. Yeah.
until we find that peace within ourselves and stop seeing us as separate, stop seeing us as different, but seeing us as a part of the whole. Even in the mindfulness training that I teach, people look for balance, and I teach integration. Don't seek balance, because you'll always have the teeter-totter that's just perpetuating
Mm,
this perception of sides, right? It's either work or it's home, right? It's either me focusing
right.
on my health and well-being or focusing on the opposite. If we integrate spirituality, whatever that looks like to you
Mm,
at this point in time,
yeah.
integrate it into every area of life,
Yeah.
instead of saying, oh, I'm going to go to church on Sunday and I'm going to keep my spirituality over here because I don't want to offend anyone over here
Right.
in my work. I'm saying I'm stepping forward in this podcast saying, this is who I am. This is my life. Spirituality, God, creator, source of divine is in everything that I do.
Yeah.
I get emotional.
No, but that's beautiful because, I mean, even interesting, even today, Pastor Marty said he welcomed everybody to the service and he said, thank you so much for being here. This is, I think he said something like, this is step one, right? Because like being here is great. But what's more important is what you do after you leave here and get into your car, right? And that's really important because when you think about, so if we believe in God, if we believe in a creator, if we believe in whatever God is really, God's indescribable. We can't
Yeah.
even imagine what this is, is, was, and ever shall be, infinite. But if we believe in a creator, then if you start to think about what that means, right, then wouldn't that, pierce every part of your life, right? So it is the foundation. It is everything. Yeah, it's not like, well, I'm going to just put it over here in this little box, but the rest of my life, it doesn't really apply to. Well, no, it has to apply to every part of your life because it is, right? Whether you apply it or not, I mean, that's up to you, but it applies,
That's right.
right?
That's right.
So those are the things I just try to remember as much as I can. I certainly forget a lot, right? Just like
Well, it's a
everybody else.
practice. It's a
Practice.
fluid practice. Keep
Right.
showing up, keep showing up, keep showing up.
Right. And God will reveal himself to, I guess, however it's supposed to be revealed.
Well, that's a great segue because I'd like to know, and we have to wrap up, but how does God reveal himself to you?
A lot of ways. For me, it's emotion a lot of times. I get emotional, and that's how I know there's something being either that I'm correct in thinking this or assuming this, or like, is this right?
It feels truth.
It feels true, and like a wave of emotion, right? But also, I mean, I've had things happen that you are just no coincidences. Like this happened, and then that happened, and then that happened, and I'm going, what? Okay, this is divine intervention. No, there is absolutely no doubt about it, right? So, God has shown up a lot, right? It's crazy. I've had some crazy things, again, we'll do this again and maybe talk about some specifics
I would
because,
love to because you do have some crazy stories.
yeah. And there's still some things that I'm just like, that is crazy,
Can you tell me real quick, when did you produce your latest music, Comfortable
Yeah,
Shoes?
well, believe it or not, that was 2020. So a long time. It was like 4 years ago during
Not a long
COVID.
time ago, and yet so
Well,
long ago.
yeah, I mean, it was, us musicians basically had everything that we were going to do canceled, essentially, right? Any gig we had, everything was canceled. So it was a very uncertain time for all of us, right? So if there was ever a time I was going to do a solo CD, solo record, this was it.
And you wrote all the music,
I wrote
all
all
the
the
lyrics.
music. I did one cover. I did a cover of Time After Time, which I love that song. But everything else, I either myself or it was a co-write. And so I just produced it right here in this room here and had some guest musicians that I sent tracks to and then they put stuff on.
It's a great album. I'm going to weave some of those songs in between because
Okay,
I
thank
love
you.
them.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Yeah, appreciate that.
Well, Jamie, thank you for your time today. I appreciate your generosity and your friendship more than I could ever
Wow.
express. So
That
thank you so
is
much.
likewise. Thank you for having me. Thank you for
Take
having
care.
me. Bye then.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us for our Sunday Communion with Friends podcast. Check out the description box for more details on our guest and links to my favorite wellness books, products, and more. We are just getting started, so please be sure to subscribe and grow with us. If you liked what you heard, be sure to like and comment. We really love to receive your engagement. Let us know where you're viewing from, words of encouragement, kindness for our guest, or just type sending light. It will be well received. We'll see you next Sunday on Sunday Communion Podcast.